Coming up this week on Sporting Journal Radio. If you fish in Minnesota, there are some new things people need to be aware of, Dan.
This could change everything when it comes to what you're doing with your firearms in your car.
I don't get it. It's not really going to affect my hunting and fishing, but it's like, really? Figure it out.
I'll be like, SJR 500.
Yes.
He'll be humming it.
Broadcasting on the Sporting Journal Radio Network, wherever you get your podcasts, or watch on YouTube.
Fish on right now.
Well, we're here at the 2024 Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic, presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. And our guest now is Jeremy Smith. I fish, I hunt, and always will.
It's just to look out for your everyday hunter, angler, and trapper that's out there.
A Fish Hunt Forever production. This is Sporting Journal Radio.
Welcome to the show. What's up, fellas?
Hello, hello.
Sweet hats.
Heck yeah.
Love them. New hats.
Look at this ascending order.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. You can get those in the Sporting Journal Radio store. We got a bunch of old school camo hats. $30. Check them out. We'll put a link in the description. All right. A big show this week. Actually, Kevin Michalowski is going to join us to talk about the situation that took place in St. Paul. So somebody got arrested 2 years ago. And then last week, the state Supreme Court of Minnesota decided that inside your car on a public road is considered public space, and a guy was getting arrested for a bunch of crimes, but he also had a BB gun, and so it became about searching a public space, your vehicle, guns, all that stuff. So Kevin's from Delta Defense, U.S. Concealed Carry Association. He's going to break down kind of what happened and what people are saying about the situation. Also, my favorite part, I'm so excited about this, Joe Henry's going to be with. We're talking about the SJR 500, fellas, and we have a music video. You guys have seen it.
You're such a nerd, bro.
What did I sent it to you at like 2 a.m. or something, David?
Yeah.
When I did it, I was so excited. I'm like, oh. I sent it to you, and what did I say?
You're like, you're not going to see this till tomorrow, but it's pretty awesome. But I was also awake, I don't know, grinding deer meat or something.
What a grinder you are.
Yeah. Sick.
I'll see it right now.
So you made some deer sticks.
Yep.
That we're going to try. So this is venison. And what flavor? This is
honey barbecue, and Dan has
sweet.
7 pepper.
7 pepper. All right, so let's make this. Let's get this official.
It's 6 in the morning for some of these folks.
Yep.
Have to make it. It's appropriate because it.
Oh, those new batteries are garbage.
Wow.
I'm guessing they only work for that ring light, and they kind of work for the square light. But
anyway, David lost his lighting over there. So while Dan fixes that, I'm going to try the stick.
Oh, yeah, chew into the microphone louder, please.
Oh, that's good.
My mom just turned it off.
Sorry, we're testing out deer sticks.
Yeah.
There's going to be some talking in your mouth.
I think that one's my favorite, and the 7 peppers my second favorite.
I'll be the judge of that.
So what's in the what are the 7 peppers?
I don't remember. It was jalapenos and a bunch of other peppers.
It's like whatever. Dr. Pepper, where you got 23 flavors, but you don't know what they are.
Yeah, this was just 7.
So it's Dr. 7.
Yeah.
Here we go. I'm going to try them. My favorite part is the labeling.
Yep.
Like, I write with a Sharpie. No, not at the Eckhart house.
Nope. Lindsay's got a nice label maker, so I'm like, hey, print me up some labels.
Wow.
You should use...
very organized.
Should use our Fish Hunt Forever font next time.
Should.
Pulpo Rust 75. Here we go. 7 peppers.
Try it out.
I'm not going to chew into the microphone.
Oh, loser. Well, how do people that are listening on the radio know you're actually eating it then?
How are they going to know?
It's theater of the mind,
Theater of
Dan.
the mind. Yeah, just picture it.
You have to use sound. Use your voice.
There's 7 peppers in there. That's actually got a little bite to it.
It's got a little heat.
His eyes just got real wide.
That's good.
I got to worry about giving away the honey barbecue because I know Lindsay likes those, but
good.
she does not like heat, so I can give all those away.
I could see the 7 pepper not treating Lindsay very well.
Yeah. Sometimes red Doritos are too hot. So.
Like nacho?
Like nacho, yeah.
I know you're talking about the color of the bag, David, but those are that's like the flagship Dorito. It's nacho.
What about ketchup?
Nope, she's good with ketchup.
Okay.
Ketchup. I think it's a food allergy.
Oh.
To maybe pepper. I don't know.
Well, now I don't want to make fun of her as much.
We don't know what it is. Sometimes Caesar salads taste spicy to her. I'm like, well, there's pepper in it, so maybe you're just allergic to pepper.
Wow. Huh. So what was your mixture for those those sticks?
50-50. Pork and venison.
Okay, what'd you use for pork?
Just Boston butts.
Bought some butts.
Boston butts.
Oh, Boston
That's
butts.
The cut. So it's
I was going to say, that's a great band name.
Pork shoulder,
Butts
I
and
think.
Butts. Pork shoulder. All right. 50-50 with the pork. All right. It's good
Performing
stuff.
today, you got the Boston Pops, legendary brass band, and the Boston Butts.
Opening for one night only, the Boston Butts.
Wow.
They should be playing last, but. All right. We got to get to the show.
Never go to the ATM at a Boston Butts concert.
I see what you did there. It took me a second, but I see what you did there. All right, Dan. Now let's talk about our sponsors.
Right after I put a stick in my
this is a
mouth.
great time.
Can you read them?
I sure probably.
All right, do it.
All right.
Here we go.
Eats a stick.
Invergrove Toyota, the official truck sponsor of Fish Hunt Forever. This is how professional I am. Go to InvergroveToyota.com. Lake of the Woods, the Walleye capital is Lake of the Woods. Plan a trip to Lake of the Woods at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. Onyx Hunt, know where you stand. Route, plan, navigate. Private land boundaries and more. Get an elite membership. It's good. Tazin Lake Lodge, personal best trophy lake trout in Northern Pike for most people. World-class fishing, Northwest Saskatchewan. Also, the Red River Valley Sportsman Show, the 60th annual, March 6th through the 9th at the Fargo Dome, Fargo, North Dakota.
Prairie Sportsman is back. You can watch episodes anytime at the Prairie Sports and YouTube channel. You were struggling. I finished
I was chewing.
Haybill Heights Campground and Resort. Fish out of a snow bear on Devil's Lake. Learn more at haybillheights.com. Minnesota Deer and Turkey Classic is back March 14th through the 16th at Canterbury Park in Shakopee. Learn more at mndeerclassic.com. And come fish the Ontario waters of Guardian Eagle Resort. We're going back this year. Fly directly from the Twin Cities. Learn more how you can too at guardianeagle.com. My tongue is kind of burning.
They're good.
I'm not going to lie. They're good. I've got a whole package here. Who wants one?
I'll try one of the pepper ones.
All right.
All right, these are David sticks. Thank you. All right.
This is fun.
New episode of Prairie Sportsman on Sunday night. Agate hunting. It's a huge deal in Minnesota.
Do we want to watch what's in it?
Sure.
On the next Prairie Sportsman, we're agate hunting on the St. Croix with Eric Benson.
What's this by your foot? It's an agate wannabe.
Exploring the healing benefits of nature with Sarah Holger.
People, when we get them out into nature, they feel like they're returning to their true self.
And learning about Huellas Latinas, a nonprofit that's connecting Spanish-speaking people to outdoor recreation.
People start asking, can I go with you? Can you teach me how to do that?
All right, watch that on Pioneer PBS Sunday night at 7:30 or on a PBS station near you or on the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel. All right, there's some new Minnesota fishing regs that we should get into.
There's a lot.
Well, let's do this. Why don't we do some headlines? Why don't you fire that guy up?
Headlines.
All right, headlines are brought to you by Invergrove Toyota. Save money on a new Toyota at Invergrove Toyota, 494 and Robert Street in Invergrove Heights. They have some additional savings for our listeners. Get $250 off the lowest advertised price and an additional $500 for your trade-in. Go to invergrovetoyota.com/FHF to find out more. All right, I'm going to try one of these sticks real quick. So
there's new.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Well, you got to buy a fishing license March 1st. David, do you remember how we always talked about this last year, how they're going to have a new electronic licensing system coming up?
Yeah, and you weren't supposed to buy a new one until March 1st.
Take a gander at what happened with the Minnesota government.
Guessing it fell through?
It hasn't fallen through, but it's delayed. And we don't know for how long. So you just got to go buy your fishing license and everything else you need the normal way because, shocker, Minnesota just has...
I don't understand it. We're taxed so much in the state. The state had a huge surplus. We have to have people that can work on computers in this state. And when the new licensing system came out a couple of years ago for cars, your driver's license, your vehicle license, how backlogged was that? You guys remember that a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
It's quite frankly, like I've usually been pretty lenient on giving people the benefit of the doubt with stuff like this. It's not easy to implement new systems into states, but here's the thing. Wisconsin's been doing this stuff since 2016. South Dakota has an app for your licenses since 2021. North Dakota launched the North Dakota Game and Fish app in 2023. Saskatchewan has an app. If the Canadian government can figure this stuff out, come on. I mean,
Florida's got an app.
Most of the states in America, I'd be willing to bet 75% of the states in America when it comes to hunting and fishing have an app. And it's whatever. I haven't printed off a license in this state besides a deer tag in a long time, but it's not like this is a new concept for hunters and anglers in the United States of America. That the fact that this is still delayed is embarrassing. We talked about it at the roundtable in 2020. that this was going to be happening this year. So it's been in the works, and here we are. I don't get it. It's not really going to affect my hunting and fishing, but it's like, really? Figure it out.
Figure it out.
It's frustrating.
Those weren't as spicy as I thought they were going to be, but there is definitely, I noticed it was almost like a delayed reaction for you, Dan, that you started to feel it on your tongue, it sounded like.
Yeah.
And now that I finished
it's a slow burn.
It's kind of a slow burn, but it's not bad. It's enough heat that it's good because I don't like it overly.
Yeah, it's not overpowering.
I don't want to sweat when I eat.
It's got good flavor.
You do anyways if it's over like 55 degrees in the place.
I don't like hot temperatures. Absolutely. Yeah, hopefully this app works out because I am very excited about it. I know a lot of people in Minnesota have been looking forward to this app, so hopefully they get that figured out very, very quickly. And with the new season, there are some different limits and regulations across the state. We're going to break some of those down in just 1 second. We're going to talk about what's going on up at Lake of the Woods because don't forget, when it comes to regulations and fish house removals and all that, they've got the extended season, I believe, through March 17th. And then we want to talk to Kevin Michalowski, and we're going to announce the Sporting Journal Radio, the SJR 500. We got a music video for you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so excited about this. So that's all. That is all on the way. What? Oh, that's Fish Donkey. I got you now. It's all on the way here. And before we get to it, though, I want to just remind you that I will be out at the Minnesota Deer and Turkey Classic once again this year. It's going to be in Shakopee, March 14, 15, and 16. Daniel Schmidt from Deer and Deer Hunting will be there. Don and Candy Kiske of Realtree Whitetail Freaks. And, of course, Melissa Bachman from Winchester's Deadly Passion. You can get your antlers scored with the Minnesota official measurers. Find out more at mndeerclassic.com. And I'll be there Saturday. I think it's 1 to 3 on Saturday. But if you go to mndeerclassic.com, you'll see me on there in the times, and then we'll talk about it here on this show. So check it all out. We'll be right back on Sporting Journal Radio. Do not go anywhere.
Sick of eating tag soup? It's time to own your odds this fall with OnX Hunt, the GPS hunting app trusted by millions of hunters. Now you'll have access to nationwide public and private land ownership information, waypoints, optimal wind for each stand, tracks, and much more. All at your fingertips. Go to onxmaps.com/hunt and use code SJR20 at checkout to receive 20% off your membership. That's code SJR20. Don't miss the 2025 Minnesota Deer and Turkey Classic, presented by Select Heartland Chevy dealers, March 14th, 15th, and 16th at Canterbury Park in Shakopee. This year's Classic features top outdoor celebrities like Don and Candy Kiske of Realtree Whitetail Freaks, Melissa Bachman of Winchester Deadly Passion, and Daniel Schmidt from Deer and Deer Hunting. Get your antlers scored, view more than 300 antler entries, and see the latest hunting products, plus a great lineup of lodges and outfitters. Learn more about the Minnesota Deer and Turkey Classic, March 14th, 15th, and 16th at mndeerclassic.com.
We're back, Sporting Journal Radio. Thank you for tuning in. We'll talk about the SJR 500 in a little bit. Oh, by the way, you guys, this is show 650.
651, actually. I think.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, sorry.
Dang it.
Hate to burst your bubble.
Well, you know what, guys? Last week was show 650.
Is that right? No way.
So, shows I mean, we do this show so much. It's like,
Once
650 is a pretty good number.
Excuse you.
Sorry. Got a little bit of deer stick. Back and throw there. I didn't hear any of that, Dan. What was that?
It's a bit like your brain. Not only is it shrunk, but it's disappeared.
Show 651.
Thanks. It's a good one.
Huh?
Killer. All righty.
Don't even trip about your pants, dog.
What is happening right now?
Dan's just hitting buttons.
Hey, by the way, we're going to give away a trip for 2 to Guardian Eagle Resort. We're going to get that kicked off here pretty quick, and it's going to be this summer. We want you to join us. We'll be up there, and we'll put you in our video that we filmed from up there as well, too. It's more walleyes than you can shake the stick
only
at.
if you catch a fish.
You'll catch many. GuardianEagle.com has all the details, or see our video from there on the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel. It's amazing. It's a pretty cool place. So check it out. All right, if you fish in Minnesota, there are some new things people need to be aware of, Dan.
Yeah, so there's actually quite a few regulation excuse you.
Thank you.
Regulation changes. A lot of things to actually bring up. There were a lot of lakes that were going under special comment periods last fall. Some on the Gunflint Trail, about walleye regulations, Saginaw being one of those. A lot of the special panfish proposed regulation lakes, now we're seeing new rules, and part of the problem with this, not to continue my rant of frustration with the Minnesota DNR, but a lot of the things we're telling you is A, some speculation, and B, some digging and information we found out from some strange sources. So they announced...
You mean like David?
Huh?
You mean like David? Was he a strange source?
No.
Oh.
No, David.
I was just making a joke about David.
One very good one.
Thank you.
But no, so they sent out a press release or news release. We get those because they send it out to all the media who sign up, so we get them. But also funny about it, half the time there's big news in there, and it's like the third story down.
Buried.
It'll be like, this spring webinar shows you how to walk through a state park with candlelight trails, and then third thing down is, Minnesota deer hunting's canceled for 2024.
Yeah. At least you knew about the candlelight walk.
Yeah, but anyway, so there was a story about some new angling limits being set, and it just kind of gave a brief overview of it. Never said. There were a few things that specified what they were, like the yellow bass are now combined with white bass, 30 a day. There's new regulations on the St. Croix River, which we can get into in a little. I figured it all out because Wisconsin has it posted, but Minnesota doesn't. But it just said, wait till the new regulation booklet comes out. So it was an announcement of an announcement. Okay, great. So we're going to look for it, but can we just know what it is?
It'd be too easy.
Makes it easy. And so one for example, Black Parle has a new crappie limit. It's now 5 per day.
Interesting.
Which was proposed, but the way I found that out was going through the Minnesota DNR Conservation Officer report, where I think like 2 or 3 of the local conservation officers in that area put in their report that they'd like to remind anglers that the limit changes to 5. That's about the only place I could find that information. Otherwise, there was just something in there that said there's new regulations for Chippewa and Lac Parle counties. So you can kind of do the math and figure things out. But
so I don't know if the new limits don't take place until the 1st. Why was it in the CO report?
I think it's just a reminder that it's going to change.
Gotcha.
So it's not like they were not writing tickets for over limit or anything. It was just a reminder that, hey, anglers should be aware as there's still opportunities to fish on these lakes that this is what's happening.
All right.
But, like the St. Croix River thing, Wisconsin DNR has it out. And I love this because actually these regulations have simplified things. St. Croix River flows into Mississippi River, obviously, in Pool 3. It runs down into Pool 4. So a lot of these regulations are just making it consistent with Pool 3 and Pool 4 regulations. Your walleye limit's now 4 fish. It was 6. Minimum length of 15 inches. No minimum on sauger. Only 1 over 20. Northern pike goes down to 3 fish per day. 1 over 30 inches. Panfish now goes to 15 a day of each species, which is still a lot, but I think it was 25. So you could catch 25 bluegill, 25 crappie, and 25 perch out of the St. Croix in a day. It's a ton. So now it's 15. It's still a lot. Channel catfish goes down to 5 per day, 1 over 24 inches. Flathead goes to 2 a day, 1 over 24 inches. It used to be 10 combined. So 10 flatheads if you really wanted to.
Jeez.
So it's just making it more consistent with the rest of the Mississippi River with a few changes like that.
I think that's going to make a lot of people happy, those catfish guys, too.
Yeah, I don't know who's out there keeping 10 flatheads, but...
Most people aren't,
no,
but I'm sure somebody is.
Still a weird deal. There is something about Mille Lacs, not in the regulations, but I saw an outdoor news article about it, that the committee is looking at, the Mille Lacs Fishery Advisory Committee, or whatever it's officially called, is looking at proposing a 3-fish walleye limit on Mille Lacs for this year. That's kind of exciting. Eel pout goes up to 4. That actually has a limit on them. 4 eel pout a day now. Whitefish and Cisco are also listed in that news release. Can't find anything on what the limit is on whitefish and Cisco. So we'll find out when the regulations come out. So I guess at the end of the day, there's a lot of changes. And if you fish any of these lakes that had some proposed regulations, you're just going to have to, on March 1st, when the booklet comes out, do some digging and figure out what the rules are. Prairie Sportsman episode from last week was on the Horseshoe Chain up in the Sauk River Chain, Horseshoe Chain, Richmond, Cold Spring area, about the catfish regulations. That was up for debate. It was 10 channel cats a day, and they're seeking public input to see if they want to continue with that or drop it back down to 5. So probably some new regulations, maybe some new regulations coming there. We don't know.
I hope they don't change it right after we put that new episode out.
But that's fine though, because we talked about that being a thing that could happen.
Yeah.
So
I know, but you know how people pay attention. They catch one thing and like, oh, we can go catch 10 now. Awesome.
Yeah, well, so by the way, if you're listening to this, we take no responsibility for you keeping fish over the limit. It's your responsibility to go go read the regulations. But I don't know, just in a world where we're trying to simplify things, we announce all this stuff, and here you and I, or the three of us, have to sit here and speculate what it all means. We get questions about this. As media folks, the three of us get questions about this all the time. So for us to sit here and not have answers, knowing there's a change coming.
So what this means is that hopefully that change comes out on March 1st. And if you're like us and it's like, oh, it's nice out today, let's go fish for a couple of hours, and you're not thinking about what day it is, you need to make sure you got your new license, of course. And then if you just happen to go out on March 1st, the regs might be different on your lake. So if you're going to go fishing, make sure you got your new license and make sure you're paying attention to
Set a reminder on your phone right now for March 1st when you wake up to buy your new license and to check the regulations, because changes are coming in the Minnesota fishing world, and this won't be the last thing that changes. Whoa, David.
Yeah, my bad.
Calm down over there.
David.
There's also, by the way, MN Fish is having a meeting, I don't remember the exact date, in Grand Rapids.
Oh, yeah.
To discuss a possibility of a 4-fish statewide walleye limit and year-round bass fishing. So things are happening in this state, good or bad. Things are happening.
I was actually just talking to a friend of mine today about the crappie limit on lac changing. He's like, I don't know, I heard it might go down to 5, so I'll just have to wait till March 1st to find out.
That one is one I'm most confident in, being that the conservation officers were saying it. But I also know there's lakes up in like Ottertail County and Fergus Falls area that are under some proposed regs, and in the news release, you can read that news release at sportingjournalradio.com actually right now. It's specified what counties had some changes. So I know there was a lake, Big Stone was one, that had a proposed regulation, and the counties that Big Stone Lake is encompassed in were not included in that release. The South Dakota regulations don't indicate anything changing on Big Stone, but it's just kind of so interesting to see what changed and what didn't. I guess we'll find out soon.
My gosh, where did we see that release or the news about MN Fish in Grand Rapids? I cannot find it.
I think MN Fish sent an email out, maybe a Facebook post out. I don't know.
It was on Facebook, yeah.
Probably an email. Probably all the members.
Inundated with newsletters and posts and texts and so much lately. It's easy to get lost in the sea of things, which is why we try to wrap it all up nicely in a neat little package for you right here on the show. I'm going to look this up real quick here.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I guess I want more clarity with some of these things. You know, we go through, and I know it's coming. I know that it's just going to be laid out in a nice booklet for us, but even the electronic licensing thing, I hadn't heard anything about it. And so today before the show, I started doing some digging and then found buried on the website is, this has been delayed and we don't know when it's going to come.
Hey, we should mention, too, if you want to get involved and make your voice heard on some other lakes that they're looking for different regulations on, they want some public input on 151 Minnesota lakes and in 40 counties to update the management plans in 2025. So you can find a list on the Minnesota DNR website so you can help the DNR if you got ideas on how some lakes should be managed.
And we aren't even touching the Leech Lake Muskie live scope depth thing proposal that was floating around last week. We don't have even close to the amount of time for me to go on a rant about that or information on it, but there's a lot of ideas floating around in Minnesota fishing right now.
There is, for sure. So, I'm just so excited about the tournament coming up in April. SJR 500. It's $40 to Fish Donkey. You'll pay $45. We pay back for big walleye, big sturgeon, biggest other fish, which is usually a sucker. Dan, how big was that sucker you caught last year?
This big.
That was huge.
Yeah, I don't know. We didn't measure.
800 pounds.
800 pounds.
With a wide angle lens.
If you're listening to this on the radio, go watch us on YouTube. You can see it.
We have a music video, ladies and gentlemen. It's like MTV back when they used to play music videos.
Welcome to my crib.
Coming up for you next for the SJR 500 with Joe Henry and also Kevin Michalowski, all on the way on Sporting Journal Radio. And for some world-class pike and lake trout fishing, don't forget Tasman Lake Lodge in Northwest Saskatchewan. Go to tasmanlake.com for all the details, or check out Tasman TV on YouTube. Tasman Lake, it's a good time. Can't wait to get up there to do a new season of Tasman TV with all of us right here. Stick around, Joe Henry's next.
It doesn't get much better than fresh perch and fresh walleye. If you're looking for an exciting winter fishing destination, come to Devils Lake, North Dakota. Haybale Heights Campground and Resort is on the ice with a fleet of snow bears, keeping you mobile and warm so you can stay on the roaming schools of fish. Haybale Heights on the east end of Devils Lake has knowledgeable guides, comfortable cabins, and their own lake access, making your trip as successful and stress-free as possible. To book your trip, go to haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com.
All right, we got a big old tournament coming up April 8th and 9th at the Rainy River. It's the SJR 500. Joe Henry joining us from Lake of the Woods Tourism right now. Joe, I can't wait for this tournament. I know you shared an article about it at lakeofthewoodsmn.com last week, sent a newsletter out. In fact, I got the newsletter twice. Thank you very much. I like that. I read it both times. I know you're as excited as we are, and we've got some sponsors to announce for the tournament, and we've got something we're going to use to announce the sponsors. You haven't seen this yet. I'm pretty excited about it. Here you go, the SJR 500.
If you want to catch a big fish, you have to go where the big fish are. Come join us at the walleye capital, Lake of the Woods and the Rainy River. The tourney is for fun, it's all catch and release. Sign up on Fish Donkey and pay $40 for the fees. SJR 500, presented by Wave Pro. The SJR 500, it's awesome. We've got some cash to give away, along with gear boxes from Heavy Hauler, some Onyx Elite memberships, and relevant sunglasses that are baller. You fish from 8 a.m. to 4, then party at River Bend. It's April 8th and 9th, if you were wondering when. The SJR 500 is presented by Wave Pro. The SJR 500, it's awesome. You might catch a personal best, and we're donating to keep it clean. There might be a guy on a buffalo that will make Greg Jones sing.
Best part right there.
Love it.
SJR 500, presented by Wave Pro. The SJR 500, it's awesome! You never know what might happen. You could win some prizes and money. Join us at the bar each night, cause Pat might say something funny. Wednesday night we have a live podcast. Join Brett and Dan and the whole crew, plus Paul Brandy and all the rest, with Jamie Scott and even David too. At the SJR 500, Big Fish and Joe Henry.
There you go.
The SJR 500, it's awesome. It's fun. It's a good time. There's a good cause. It's a new tradition. If you win, awesome. If you don't,
who cares?
Fish Hunt Forever's SJR 500.
Love it.
Wow.
There you go.
I love it. Cool, boys. Good stuff.
I
can't wait to fish the Rainy River in April.
It's the only way to make it rhyme.
We can thank you for that, because you've been bugging us about AI.
So I'm just AI. I'm that AI tool. That AI band is just freaking spot on. I mean, I just wow.
You got chills down your spine right now?
You can tell Brett has listened to that thing over and over.
Oh my gosh.
He even knew when certain words were coming. He'd pop in there with them, you know.
All week in the office here, Joe, it's just been, we'll be sitting here working, and there it's like sitting in the boat with Greg Jones. He'll just start randomly singing the SJR 500 song.
It's been stuck in my head.
I gotta tell you though, after hearing it one time, I can imagine myself when I get off this call with you guys, I'll be like,
The SJR 500.
Yes.
He'll be humming it.
It's catchy. So here's the crazy thing. So, Joe, it's AI. So created by AI. We have to put that disclaimer out there, I think. But I wrote the lyrics, and you put in, what genre you want. If you want a male voice, what tempo you want, etc. So you do all that, and then it just creates it. And the first time I did it, I had a misspelling in there. An accidentally misspelling. Well,
shocker! You never do that.
Well, I was in a hurry.
Wouldn't happen to be Rivar, would it?
No. So that one's on purpose.
That's lyrical genius.
Yes.
City.
Because it had to rhyme. So I actually had to type it out RIVARRR like it's an AI pirate, and put that in there. But if you make a mistake and you rewrite it, it creates a whole new song again. So you lose everything. So I've redone that song like 10 times trying to recreate the magic of that original one that we just listened to. And because I did it before I had official sponsors signed on. So I was like, gosh, I hope they all sign on because this is the best version we have. And I can't recreate it. So there it is. Full on music video. The SJR 500 official song.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a great song, and it's a great promo. And you know what? I'll tell you a couple things here, just kind of tip my mind. Number one, I do have Wave Pros in my boat, and I was one of those guys that, I have a little bit older of a boat, and I decided to put the Wave Pros in there, even though I have an aluminum, a little bit older boat, just because it takes so much stress off my back and my neck when I'm riding any kind of water at all. I still don't hit it hard. I don't push it any harder, but I'll tell you, it still makes your ride so much smoother. I love those Wave Pros. And then the other thing I'll mention to you is, recently we had a spring fishing meeting with a bunch of different stakeholders and agencies and such about the Rainy River. And, one of the folks, or one of the agencies, I should say, on the call was the OPP out of Canada. And they had mentioned, just because of, some of the additional attention to the border, there's going to be more of a presence this year on the border with OPP, meaning they don't care about anglers, they don't care about people fishing, but just don't be surprised if you see a drone, or if you see an OPP boat, or if you see an OPP helicopter flying the Rainy River. There's going to be a little more attention.
I'm down with OPP. You know me, so I don't have a problem with that.
Nice.
Thank you very much. Be here all week.
I'm too old to get that, but I know it's a joke. So.
Too young to get that.
That's what I meant.
Well, we saw Brett. Can you put a little bit more personality into it? How should it really sound?
That's the best I can do.
I don't know what you mean.
Look at this.
It had the cadence of a joke.
That's the best.
Come on, Danny, you know what it is.
I don't.
This guy.
I'm too young.
You don't? Brett,
I know the SJR 500.
Yeah, we're going to incorporate. I'll do a new SJR 500 version, and I'll incorporate that in.
Yeah. I'm surprised.
Brett, the OPP. Yeah, you know me.
I'm surprised he hasn't had that song teed up already.
Well, we have a copyright problem there.
Yeah, you have to be a little careful about that. But we saw the OPP on the river last year too, and so
they were on a mission.
Yeah,
remember that they were doing something because there was definitely a boat sturgeon fishing in the Ontario side.
Is that the one that said police on it?
Yes, that would be the one. Yep.
Yeah, but I remember that because you can't sturgeon fish the Ontario side, and we're all watching where this boat is. We're like, oh gosh, they're getting in trouble, and they just drove right by them out to the lake and did something and drove right back. It was weird.
Yeah, if you're as long as you're not hauling ass across the Rainy River and jumping on the Canadian side and jumping out on land and running, I think you're going to be okay. They truly are just, they're looking for people that are going into Canada that shouldn't be going into Canada. They're looking for weapons and they're looking for drugs. And as far as, like they said, as far as boats, fishing and things like that, no problem. But I think it's more of just awareness. If you happen to see, some enforcement out there, no worries. And, since we're talking about it, what are the rules when you fish in the Rainy River this spring as far as fishing in Canada?
Yeah, I'll tell you that. And honestly, I don't mind seeing law enforcement, especially along our border. Yeah. It doesn't bother me at all. And, everybody should be licensed. Everybody should be following the laws. You can't, in our tournament, you can't fish. Stop breaking the law! You can't fish on the Canadian side. It's not a legal part of the tournament. So you shouldn't be over there anyway. You can't fish any of the tributaries of the Rainy. So you have to access the Rainy River through from Franz Jevny to Wheeler's Point. And then you can go out into the Lake of the Woods, but you have to access it from the Rainy River. So you have to go on through those accesses. And
it has to be open water.
It has to be open water, yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's a fun tournament. It's $40. There's a $5 fish donkey fee, so it's $45 is what it'll cost you to enter the tournament. We pay back top walleye and top sturgeon. We're donating to keep it clean program up there, which I think is great. And Joe, I think, of course, every year it always comes down to weather. The nicer the weather, the bigger turnout we're going to end up having. But I've had so many people already approach me about this tournament. Even guys like Pat Calmerton, which I think we talked about last week, and Jim Willis. Sounds like those guys are going to come up. And David, can you grab our pizza real quick? Yep. We got Wave Pro on as a title sponsor this year. I think the guys from Wave Pro are going to try to make it up. Scott Ferry, and then we've also got Heavy Hauler. I think Jason Bird might try to make it up. And Relevant, the guys from Relevant. So it's going to be a good time. We've got it open now on the Fish Donkey app so people can get signed up. It'll be April 8th and 9th. And based on this warm stretch that we're having right now, it's got me just thinking about sitting in a boat on the Rainy, catching big walleyes, maybe catching a big sturgeon.
Is it warm up north, though? What's the weather up north like? I've heard it's supposed to get cold again.
I'm sure. Yeah, it's not even March.
Well, and I'll tell you, it's funny. I just sent an email yesterday. All 4 TV stations in the Twin Cities, all 4 metro stations, and we fight this every year, are putting out, hey, the DNR says that fish houses have to be off the ice, and in the northern part of the state, they have to be off by March 13th. But, they leave out the border water with Canada, which Lake of the Woods is. It's not March 13th. It's March 31st. And I got to tell you, we're still using extensions up at Lake of the Woods. When you look at the forecast, halfway through March is what we have the forecast for currently. We still have some below zero temps overnight. We have some single digits. We have some teens. Mother Nature always determines, and I'll let the ice road operators and the resorts and things determine on their ice road what's safe, what's not. But as of right now, things are looking extremely well to make it all the way through March if you want to fish through March. Listeners should know that our fish houses, we have that extended season. Fish houses can be overnight on Lake of the Woods through March 31st. The walleye and sauger season goes through April 14th. And the pike season never closes. So we still have a whole month of ice fishing left. And, March, because of the angle of the sun, the longer days, Mother Nature kicks in the juices with fish that are going to start preparing for the spawn. And a lot of those fish will put that feed bag on. With pike, pike normally don't school. They're not congregated, but they get congregated in March because they typically stage off the spawning areas. So if you get off of a spawning area with tip-ups, man, you can catch numerous monster pike in a day. It's famous. So I just share that with everybody. Ice fishing's not over up at Lake of the Woods. Yeah. But Brett, to your point, in central Minnesota where it's melting and things like that, it does get you kind of juiced up for open water.
Yeah. It's just getting me excited about it. I know there was a lot of ice and talks of extensions. I think I just saw Paul Johnson shared something just a couple of days ago about an extension on the auger still. So obviously still some ice fishing left, but it was 60 degrees at my house the other day. And I was out there, cleaning the garage and doing stuff outside, and at one point in a t-shirt. So it was, it's definitely and it's March. People are like, "Oh, do you think spring is here?" I'm like, no. We got the snowiest month is coming yet.
This is the first fake spring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, false spring.
Yeah,
number 1.
Your light's dying over there, David.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Those batteries suck.
Oh, that's one of the new batteries.
Yeah,
man, dang it. All right, Joe.
I think that song had so much power to suck the juice out of your battery.
Say, you talk about cleaning the garage. I could hear you outside with the JBL, and that was all that was playing.
SJR 500.
It's like the Fetty Wap trend on Instagram. You're just going to do that with the SJR 500.
I love it. Cannot wait. April 8th and 9th. All right, Joe, people want to try to get up there before that, make a plan for that, or make a summer trip or something like that. What should they do for more info?
Check out our website, and that is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
All right. Kevin Michalowski is going to talk about an important thing regarding Minnesota, new ruling in Minnesota regarding handguns when we come back.
Lake of the Woods, the walleye capital of the world, is calling out to you. From the Northwest Angle to the South Shore and Rainy River, this is the Midwest's #1 ice fishing destination. Walleye, sauger, perch, northern pike, and eelpout. The fishing on Lake of the Woods is like a world of its own. Experience the most amazing fishing through one of the many full-service resorts featuring heated fish houses, ice transportation, meal plans, and sleeper fish house options. For more information, go to lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Happy Harry's presents the Red River Valley Sportsman Show, March 6th through the 9th at the Fargo Dome. Visit hunting and fishing resorts from the Midwest to Canada. So plan your vacation right at the show. See fishing boats, docks, RVs, and campers, plus fishing gear and the latest in fishing electronics. There's fishing seminars and the Wildlife Adventure Center. It's the Red River Valley Sportsman Show, March 6th through the 9th at the Fargo Dome. Show information at fargosportshow.com, a Sonenko production.
All right, this is Sporting Journal Radio. We want to talk about something that took place in Minnesota. The story came out about a week ago. It's something that I think it happened a couple of years ago now, or maybe a year ago, but the Minnesota Supreme Court ruled on it, and it was about, let me pull it back open here. This is from the Star Tribune. The Minnesota Supreme Court ruled last Wednesday, that the interior of a vehicle is a public space if it's driven on public roads in a case involving a criminal charge over a BB gun found under a driver's seat. So I want to talk about this. I immediately thought of Kevin Michalowski from Delta Defense and U.S. Concealed Carry Association, and we brought Kevin on to talk about this right now. How you doing, Kevin?
Pretty good. This is something that's getting a lot of attention in the concealed carry world right about now.
I bet it is, and I'd assume that somebody probably brought it to your attention before I did, I bet.
Yeah, we have Google alerts set for all kinds of crazy stuff like this. Whenever something happens, we want to know about it immediately and get our attorneys and attorneys that we know looking at it and talking about it, and figuring out what the heck is going on, because this could change everything when it comes to what you're doing with your firearms in your car.
So let's just talk about what happened. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce this name, but in May of 22, there was somebody in St. Paul, that was charged with carrying a BB gun in a public space, a gross misdemeanor, after Ramsey County Sheriff's deputy arrested him on suspicion of stealing a catalytic converter. He had a revoked driver's license, and when the deputy searched the car, a BB gun was found under the front seat, and he was charged because he did not have a permit to carry a firearm in public. So Kevin, immediately, as we were talking off the air, that brings up all sorts of questions about this situation, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. What is in public, and where do your rights to have a reasonable expectation of privacy, where do those stop? And typically, we know we're in the media industry. Out in a public space, you have no expectation of privacy. People are going to be filming and seeing what you're doing and what's going on out there. But in states that have a castle doctrine law, or a good, powerful castle doctrine law, that castle doctrine extends to your vehicle as well. And there's some protections, but they're not blanket protections. Minnesota doesn't have that. So they can tell you how you're supposed to defend yourself and how you're supposed to carry your firearms in your vehicle. But this seems very interesting to me, the way this is all coming together, because it looks to me like as we grab this, did they do a search incident to arrest, or did they have to catalog everything that was in the vehicle and then find this? But they're still hitting him with this charge of carrying a weapon without a permit, carrying a firearm without a permit in public, and he was simply in his car, but he was driving on a public roadway. This sort of changes everything. Do they just get to automatically search your vehicle now? Or worse yet, this is a public place. I get to go anywhere I want in a public place, and you can't tell me to leave because it's a public place. So do I get to go in your car because it's a public place on a public roadway? There's tons of questions here.
If public place, so I'm just reading this article a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, I guess in a sense, it's almost like when we're hunting and we have a shotgun, when we go through a city, it's got to be in a case. So I suppose if this wasn't in a case, and then it comes down to whether or not a BB gun is considered a firearm.
Right. And I think for the purposes of the permit in the state of Minnesota, I've been looking for this too, specifically because it said carrying a firearm. Firearm is defined as something that uses gunpowder to launch a projectile, because a felon can buy a BB gun, but he can't buy a firearm. So this case has opened up just a ton of questions about what people should be doing or what they can be charged with when they're doing something with their firearms in their vehicle.
Well, according to something I found from 2017, the Minnesota Supreme Court settled an old dispute whether a BB gun is considered a firearm under the state's weapon laws, determining that it is not.
Okay, so if I was this guy's lawyer, that's the first thing I would be focusing on. But I looked up what the Minnesota statute was for public place, and it's very specific. It means property owned, leased, or controlled by the government, and private property that is regularly and frequently opened and made available to the public. And there's some other legalese in there, but then it goes on to say, with the exception of a gun show, a gun shop, hunting or target shooting facility, the woods, fields, or waters of this state where a person is present lawfully for the purposes of hunting or target shooting. So they made it so that even if hundreds of people show up at your gun club, that can still be private property. That's not a public place. You can still tell people to get off of there. So they've had a few carve-outs for gun shows and gun shops and shooting and hunting, but this makes it much more difficult to know for certain, what you can do while you're transporting your firearms through Minnesota. I would tell people now immediately, no matter what, if you don't have a Minnesota permit to carry a gun, that you better have that gun unloaded in a case in the trunk of your vehicle or out of control of the driver or folks in that vehicle. But that still doesn't mean, based on this Supreme Court ruling, that the police have to get a warrant to search your car. Your car is on a public road, so the Supreme Court has said it's a public place. Now do they have the opportunity to just go search it because it's now public?
So this was the second recent ruling by the state Supreme Court concerning privately owned vehicles and guns in public spaces. I'm reading the Star Tribune article again. In 2021, the court ruled that a drunken driver in a car with a gun in the center console was carrying the weapon in a public space. That opinion, written by former Justice Paul Anderson, was noted in the dismissal of this case at the district court level because it didn't clearly define public space.
And again, in the definition of public space in the Minnesota state statutes, there's no mention of a vehicle at all. So if it's not mentioned, I would assume that it is not a public space because it's not specifically laid out that what it is. But the Supreme Court sees it differently there in Minnesota.
Well, it's an interesting case for sure. And, so from a USCCA or Delta Defense perspective, when it comes to something like this so say this guy had a membership, because explain how your memberships work.
Okay, the USCCA membership provides membership benefits for education, training, and self-defense liability insurance. So if this guy had a USCCA membership, this was not involved in a self-defense case or anything like that. So it's not self-defense liability. So we're just watching this to help people not run afoul of the transportation laws.
Sure.
I employ a full-time person here, 40 hours a week. She monitors all of the states to make sure that we got their gun laws up to date on our state laws and reciprocity maps page. And Minnesota is one of those that pops up red and yellow a lot when it's just, Minnesota doesn't want to honor anybody else's permits. So we got to tell our members that if they're traveling through Minnesota and they have a permit from Wisconsin, it's no good. Things like that. It's those are the kinds of things that we're watching with this right here, just to make sure that nobody runs afoul of it and ends up, a gross misdemeanor could put you in jail for a while. I think up to a year. So.
Well, obviously, this person doesn't sound like they cared about the law too much. So,
and typically you'll have that. I mean, it's when I was working as a cop, the best advice I could give somebody is don't break more than one law at a time. Don't break more than one law at the time. So if you're speeding, don't have drugs in the car, because they're going to pull you over for speeding. They're going to find the drugs in the car. So, but. What happened here is very confusing based on the fact that, one, it's not a firearm. Two, they searched, and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. That this was a search incident to arrest. They were taking him into custody for something else, and they searched that vehicle as they impounded it or whatever it was. So I'm hoping that it was what we would call a good search, that it was a constitutionally approved search for what they were doing that way. But then to claim that our vehicle is now a public space, well, public space is accessible to everybody else.
Right. So that's the big problem in all of this.
So if your car is parked on a public street and you forget to lock it, and a homeless person crawls in there to sleep, do they have the right to do that now because it's a public place on a public street? The inside of your car is a public place on a public street. This is opening up an entire can of worms, not to mention the Fourth Amendment violation that they just now get to search wherever they want because that's a public place, so the cops can go in your car.
Yeah, you said you saw an update about that I hadn't seen yet. What did you see?
Yeah, I was looking at KSTP. No, that's not it. The Gazette Extra dropped in some folks here. The American Civil Liberties Union is jumping in on this now because and they're always very tentative when they're talking about gun laws because they're usually pretty far to the left, but they're hoping that this definition does not expand into other statutes and other areas that it applies. They said, and one of the spokespeople from American Civil Liberties Union, I'll read it off the story here, said her hope was that the law would not create a situation where automobiles are thought of as public places in general, and then essentially losing any expectation of privacy in automobiles. So it's when it comes down to the point where the American Civil Liberties Union is getting involved in what is essentially a firearms or Fourth Amendment case, maybe there's a little bit of concern that we should look at and say, do we have some judicial overreach in what's going on? The legislature has to define this clearly and let the voters chime in on it.
Yeah, that would be wrong if we went down that road, although it wouldn't surprise me in Minnesota. Let's just give everything to everybody. But a lot of that mentality out there. Anyway, Kevin, and then maybe we... I know you're not a lawyer. You probably have lawyers, but once we maybe getting as this moves on, maybe if you can come back on, or if you want somebody that is more of a legal.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about this. We are organizing some of our other legal experts to take a look at it and see. Right now, like we said, the information is a little bit spotty, but more and more people are chiming in, and the Supreme Court made this decision. And now all of the fallout that comes afterwards, all of the questions that we're hoping justices would ask before they make the decision are popping up. Because if this means anybody can just go in your car when it's on a public street, that's a problem.
Yeah. What if you're legally carrying firearms or transporting firearms? Say you're on a hunting trip. Maybe you've got your shotgun or a rifle in the trunk in a case, and maybe you've got your handgun in there that you're licensed for. And maybe even that's locked up and in a case somewhere. Is your vehicle now? I guess you'd have to be, if you're parked on a public street, could somebody come in and just start taking stuff out of there?
I don't know. It's, because this is a public place, and where does the interior of your car extend to? Are we defining that as a storage area, as the trunk or anything like that? If somebody's inside your car on a public street, will their defense now be, no, this is a public place? The Supreme Court said this is a public place, and I get to be in public places. And okay.
I'm never driving through a city again. I'm driving gravel roads, township roads everywhere I go from now on, whatever, county roads.
Now everyone's just going to find the fish on the Fundra and just sit in it. That's a new contest for don't just spot the Fundra, sit in the Fundra, take some pictures. You're not going to get in trouble.
Camp in the Fundra.
Who can spend the longest amount of time in the Fundra
before going to jail?
But you won't.
Man. Yeah, that's true. You won't. All right. Kevin, where can people find out more about USCCA and get their membership and find out more about what you do?
It's super easy. It's uscca.com. Drop in there and you'll see all sorts of great stuff about keeping yourself and your family safe and guiding you through the morass that is the legal jungle after you're involved in a self-defense incident.
It's a great organization and the first person I thought of when I saw this story. So I really appreciate you coming on. Kevin Michalowski, thanks for the time today on the show.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Sporting Journal Radio is a division of Macaba LLC. If you've got a question, comment, or story idea for us, send us an email. Go to sportingjournalradio.com. While you're there, you can learn how to advertise on the show and visit our store for hats, hoodies, coffee mugs, and more. Go to sportingjournalradio.com.